So once we reviewed it, it's a good idea to identify what are the actual requirements, the things that you must do. And you can spot those because they typically will tell you, you know, the vendor must or the vendor shall, which is another way of saying must in legal language. So highlight those. Go through the document, highlight everything that's a requirement, and then make a list. Create a checklist. You'll want to use this as you prepare your response so you can make sure that it has, in fact, been assigned, and once you've got the first draft of your response done, you can go through and check it off and say, yes, it's done, it's been handled, it's on page whatever, you know, 72 or 15 or page 3, whatever it is. That way you haven't missed anything, and that way you can feel confident you're fully compliant. The other thing this gives you, too, is a framework then for creating a compliance matrix, a document or a part of a document that we can insert in our response later to show them that we are fully or at least largely compliant to what they've asked for. I'll show you an example of that here in a minute. All right, so the last thing I mentioned during about the 4 steps was to ask these 7 questions. And what we want to do is make sure that we're focused on what matters to the customer, to the decision maker. And if you think that by answering the requirements in the RFP, you will automatically be addressing what matters to the decision maker, I have some bad news for you. The RFP itself almost never discusses the actual business drivers. And when I say business drivers, you know, please think a little out of the box. So if you're responding to a school district or you're responding to a city government, you know, they have business drivers as well in the sense of trying to accomplish their mission or achieve their goals. But what's going on there, the things that aren't working are seldom put into the actual RFP. Because, let's face it, it's embarrassing to admit that we're failing in key areas. So instead, what they put in are requirements that outline the technical nature of a solution that will be satisfactory. But what they don't tell you is what the solution really has to do and why they need it. So to get to that, we need to be able to answer 7 key questions. So question number 1, what's the client's problem? What is it they're worried about? What's the gap in capabilities? What's not working? And to get a little deeper, it's smart to ask, and why is that a problem for them? In the Six Sigma quality methodology approach, there's a tool, a technique called the 5 whys. Some of you may have encountered this. And it's simply a process of acting like a 4-year-old. You know, you say why 5 times, and you get to the root cause. Well, it's a good idea to try this kind of approach when we're thinking about the customer. So somebody issues an RFP, and they are looking for sales training. We want somebody who can provide sales training, particularly focused on the sale of high technology products and services into the business-to-business market. Okay, we do that. But why do they need it? Well, because they're launching a whole new series of products which will be cloud-based. Why are they doing that? Well, because they're losing market share in their field to competitors who are, in fact, cloud-based, because it's a more flexible approach for their customers to have installations on the local desktop. Okay, but why do they want to do that? Well, because they saw revenues decline over the past 3 years with the rise of cloud and so on. So what we're getting to are the issues that aren't in the RFP that really get to the heart of what they need to address. And we need to talk about those things when we respond, even though they were unmentioned in the RFP. So what's the problem, and why is it a problem for them? And the third question is, great. So if they solve that problem, what are they looking for in terms of results? What kinds of outcomes will enable them to feel like, wow, we really got what we needed? You know, the results we got were outstanding. And normally, our customers are looking for results in 1 or more of 3, sometimes 4 areas. The first area is what we might call strategic results, strategic value, business or financial improvements in performance. Things like being more profitable, being able to do the same amount of work with fewer employees, successfully negotiating a merger or acquisition, increasing market share, so on. These are the kinds of things that often show up in the annual report or that show up on a P&L statement. So improvements in these areas really do matter. But that's not the only thing decision makers look for. Sometimes they're looking for what we might call tactical outcomes. And these are outcomes which reflect improvements in the technology or the infrastructure of the organization. So implementing best practices, eliminating non-productive steps from a process, automating something that's labor-intensive, improving quality control and reducing errors, achieving compliance with regulatory standards. These are the kinds of things that are more tactical. They probably won't show up in the annual report or in the P&L statement, but if you don't do them, you very well may end up going broke or, getting in trouble, being sued. So this is critical stuff, and if we can help in that area and we can demonstrate outcomes, this may be what the customer's looking for. The third area is what we could call social or political results. Internally, that would be things like improving employee morale, improving retention rates, decreasing absenteeism. Externally, it might be something like gaining community support, increasing customer loyalty, gaining a larger share of the customer's wallet, reducing carbon footprint, things that affect the community or the society within which we live. Again, very important. And as you can see, these overlaps. Positive in one area could easily be a positive in another. Finally, sometimes it's personal. You may be dealing with somebody who wants to achieve results in a key area, and who is looking for the kinds of improvements that will enable him or her to advance their career, to make more money, to score a big bonus, or if they're the owner of the company, to simply be successful in perpetuating what they've created. These can be perfectly legitimate. It's a little hard to put personal goals in a proposal unless you are, in fact, bidding directly to the company owner. All right, so think about these four kinds of goal areas when we talk about what's the customer looking for. And then ask yourself, of these, which one matters the most to my buyer? Which of these, let's say they're looking for reduced carbon footprint and increased automation of a labor-intensive process and increased profitability. But which one matters the most? We are not in a position as the outside consultant to tell them what they should value. We can't do that. We have to listen to them and understand what they think matters, and then show them that if they choose us as their provider, they're going to get that result, and they're going to get more of that result than they would from anybody else they might pick. This is a critical step, and there's two things to be aware of here. Number one, you want to mention the outcomes right up front in the proposal, because people buy in order to achieve gain. They don't buy simply to meet requirements or to satisfy a need. They only do it to the extent they achieve gain. And secondly, if we present the kinds of gains they can get in the order that it matters to them, it makes them think that we see the world the way they see it. After all, we prioritize the results exactly the way they would prioritize them. So shouldn't we work with these folks? They think the way we think. That's a critical step. If possible, take that number one outcome, the most important outcome to the client, and use that as the baseline for your value proposition. Quantify how much of that result are they going to get based on the differentiators and the experience you bring to the engagement. If we can show that, we are miles ahead in winning the deal. Now, those are the four questions that will get us to the heart of what matters to the customer. And then to bring that into alignment with what we have, there are three more questions. First of all, what do we have? What are the things we can do for this client that will solve the problem and deliver the right results? And of the things that we can do, what's the best fit? if we look at the probable results of each of our courses of action, what's most likely to give them what they want? By doing this, it gives us the grounds to offer a solution that appears to be client-centered as opposed to be self-serving. You can show that we've thought through various ways to solve your problem and deliver the right results, and we're recommending this because it's the best for you. That takes away that fear the customer has that what you're recommending is actually the best for us, for us as the vendor. Last question, what makes us the right choice? What differentiates us from our competitors? What proof do we have? What evidence can we marshal to show we can deliver this project on time and on budget? These are the logical backup elements which help the customer feel good about the emotional decision they make when they see that we're actually solving their problem and delivering the right results. All right, well, we've done all that. We're ready to start writing, so let's write. Let's get the right parts in the right order and deliver the right message. We're going to look at 4 areas quickly that are of critical importance: the cover letter, the executive summary, our actual detailed solution, and then answering the questions in the RFP itself. So before we look at that, it's probably worth being aware that most formal proposals, when they are written in response to an RFP, have 3 basic parts. On the one hand, there is the business case. And that consists of the cover letter, the title page, your table of contents, the executive summary, and sometimes a calculation of return on investment or payback, which is handled separately. So that's the business case. Secondly, there's what we might call the solution or substantiation section. And this is the part of the proposal where we're showing them exactly how we do it. So we've got our detailed presentation of our product or our service. We've got the scope of work with the master schedule and the project team and any subs we're bringing in. We've got our proof points, including case studies and references. And this is also where all those Q&A components go in, the answers to all the questions they're asking in the RFP. The final part is the attachments, things like sample contracts, our financials. Sometimes they want the detailed team resumes put in as an appendix, things like that. So what we're showing them here are more detailed proof points that we're people they can trust.